What's the first thing women notice? Your face. That's why you got to take care of. Simple things like getting a haircut, grooming your face, and brushing your teeth is important. But there's one thing guys miss and that women always notice. It's when a guy isn't taking care of his skin. That's why I'm so excited to have T. Shanley as a sponsor of today's video. T. Shanley simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing you don't. Seriously, I don't think some of you believe me when I tell you how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of your life. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with an SPF 20 and a PM moisturizer. But and to make it dead simple for you guys, they provide an instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. But because T just sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description and get 40% off your first skincare system and free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll get 20% off for life. By the way, one of their new gift options is a silicone body scrubber, which is a $20 value and a complete game changer. Once you use this, you'll never go back to a regular loofah ever again. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today. Let's go, time. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to King Talk. We're going to introduce the crew. We got Mr. Adam, Darwin, Vena, Ink Biz, Chicago Outlaw, Trev, me, myself, and the PJ. What's going on? How y'all doing?
What's good? What's good?
Can you guys see
What's
me?
happening there, fellas?
Yeah. See, y'all sound very relaxed today, man. Y'all had a long day today, huh? Ain't nothing wrong with it. Well, we got a special show today. Well, before we get started, let's get the housekeeping out the way. Make sure you guys go ahead and click that link, that Tej link. It's in the description. It's also, it should be pinned to the top, but if not, just go to the description and fill it. Tej, as I always say. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you are catching this on the replay, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe as well. I want to welcome Adam to the show. You guys have seen the intro, or maybe not, but I'm going to play the intro again. We do have a special, make sure you meet up in between, gentlemen. We do have a special show ahead because Adam has a little situation, not a little, but a big situation. And we thought that it was very important for us to highlight it because it may be somebody else that's out there that's dealing with the same situation. Who knows? But we're hoping that his story will be able to help and enlighten others. It's just something that's going on that I probably never really heard of, and I didn't think that it could happen at such a young age. But we're gonna get into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kick it off with this video. I'm gonna again give you guys a little bit of insight, and then I'm gonna ask Adam some questions, just one-on-one, and then we can open it up to the panel for the gentleman to chime in. Sounds good? All right, here we go.
Can you please say your name and why are you here today?
My name is Adam Vena. I'm here today to fight for my son, Aiden. He started to get socially transitioned at 2 years old. And on my son's 3rd birthday, he came to me and said, "Dad, Mom bought me a pink dress." I got down on one knee, I looked him in the eye and said, "Hey buddy, you're a boy, not a girl, and boys don't wear dresses." And I thought that's where it ended. I sent a group of text messages out to my son's mother. None of the text messages were threatening. None of the text messages were hurtful, but they were able to get put me on a restraining order. And in that restraining order, it was because how do I say this? In the text messages, all I said was, he's a boy, not a girl. Boys don't wear dresses. And some choice words in there also, but nothing was threatening or anything like that. But California was able to get a restraining order put on me. So I've been on a restraining order for 4 years from my son. This court system ordered a gender assessment to be done on my son. When I requested to sit in on that assessment, they denied me that at Children's Hospital. They denied a therapist to sit in on the assessment, and they denied me a phone call with the doctor at Children's Hospital. So in this process, not one time has the doctors or therapists ever asked the father what is going on with his son. It's been very one-sided on this whole thing on her side.
It's interesting, interesting story there, Adam.
Yeah.
I do want to open it up by asking this question, because when I did post that in my stories, a lot of people were asking me, what exactly does it mean to be socially transitioned?
So right now, socially, for me, so the socially transition started when Aiden was 2 years old. When I still had custody of him, I received a picture from his mother through a text message of him in a pink, like a pink tutu. And again, I had set off the text messages, don't do this to my son. He's a boy, not a girl. Stop doing this. And then I thought it had stopped. And then in the video, it shows that. So I guess socially transitioned, they're basically transitioning my now 6-year-old son to be a girl without medications or surgeries right now. So right now, my son goes by a girl's name by Luna. My son uses she, her pronouns. My son uses the women's or the girls' restroom in schools. Basically, he is 100% girl to everybody around him. He is not being raised as a boy. So that's kind of what socially transitioning. So everybody around him knows that he's transitioning from a boy to a girl, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It gives a little bit of clarity as far as what socially transition is. Do you have a follow-up question to that? What led to the initial decision to socially transition him at such a young age?
Brother, I really wish I knew why she started this with my son. I truly believe that she started doing this to him as something that's cute. And also she knew that I wouldn't be able, this is something that I wouldn't like. And I truly believe that once the judge got involved, like I talked about in the video, the therapist, Aiden has a queer therapist. The doctors, the lawyers, I think they have brainwashed my son's mother to go 100% on board with this, because she was never 100% on board with this. But once these key figures were placed in front of her to make decisions, that's when she became 100% on board with transitioning Aiden from a boy to a girl.
Okay. What was your reaction when you first realized Aiden was being transitioned without your input?
I was angry. And that's, like I said in the video, I had sent out the bunch of text messages, basically saying he's a boy, not a girl. Stop doing this to my son. Again, in the video, I said there were some choice words, bad words, but nothing that was, I'm going to come over there and kidnap him. Nothing, I'm going to come down there and beat you up. Nothing like that. It was basically, don't do this to my son. He's a boy, not a girl. And they used those groups of text messages, the 46 text message, to get me on a temporary restraining order. And I was on a temporary restraining order up to about a year ago. And then that's when the LA court decided to grant the 5-year restraining order on me, which, mind you, even before this, I had been completely cut out of Aiden's life. Medical decision, any type of medical decisions, I pay for that through my work, but they kept everything from a secret from me. And like I said in the video in front of the Supreme Court, my previous attorney, I requested to sit in on the assessment. That was denied. I hired my own child therapist, not to sway left or right, just to sit in there to find out what kind of questions this doctor at an adolescent youth clinic, gender clinic, was going to ask my son. That was denied, and also a phone call. I had even written out a letter to give to the doctor, and I still have not heard from the doctor at Children's Hospital. Not one time has he ever called. Not one time has the judge ever sat me down to ask me again, what do I think is going on with my son? It's been very one-sided on this whole thing.
Okay. What kind of relationship did you have with Aiden before this situation began?
Me and Aiden had a great relationship. You can see in that picture. we did the normal dad things. You know, I did not like that me and his mother separated. It was very difficult. I come from a family of 4. My mom and dad are still married to this day. I believe they've been married almost 46 years. So I come from a very strong traditional Christian family, and that's what I wanted. And things did not work out. I remember one night I was trying to put Aiden to bed, and he said he wants to go back to mom. And I was holding him, and I said, "Me too, buddy." I did not like that me and his mother separated. It was very, very, it was hard for me, and it was hard for Aiden, because I didn't want that. I didn't want my son to be raised in 2 separate homes.
Okay. When you say the system has been one-sided, can you give specific examples of how you feel excluded as a father?
Well, I think being excluded by a father by not allowing the father to sit in is something, I've said it in court, is something so big as gender. We're dealing with this little boy's gender, and for you not to be able to get the father's input on this huge situation is very one-sided. With my son's mother, I had stuff I don't talk about. Is I had her arrested for domestic violence. I was punched in the face, and I had left the house, but I had called the police, and she ended up getting arrested. And they never used that in the court findings. They swept that completely under the rug. So minors counsel, her attorney, and the judge swept the domestic violence that I received in the relationship. And so that's 2 reasons. I've always asked in court, like, hey guys, let's sit down as adults in this situation, and all 4 of us sit down and talk about what's going on with Aiden. Let's figure out what's going on with Aiden. And you guys have not done that. And I said in court, I said, because you guys have not asked the father about what's going on with his son, that's why you have the pissed off father that you have on your hands today, is because you never once asked me what I think is going on with my son. 50% of that little boy is mine, and 50% of it's hers, and they never took me into consideration as the father.
Okay. What is your perspective on the role with the therapists and medical professions that played in this process? Were they neutral or biased?
They're very biased, 100% biased. They went, so when you, as we all know, when you go to the doctor and say you come down with cancer, there's certain treatments for that cancer, right? So you go A, B, C, and you work your way up, to cure your cancer. But with my son, they went from A to Z with my son. They never treated the middle. They never tried to figure out what exactly was going on. And they go, oh, you like to wear dresses? You must be a girl, so we're going to treat you as a girl. And they never try to figure out what's going on. Going back to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, the gender assessment was a 60-minute gender assessment to be done. I still don't know what questions were asked of my son, but what I do know is that he talked for 5 minutes and the mother talked for the rest of the remaining of the time. So they never got a full grasp of what was going on. And in those findings, the doctors found that he did not have gender dysphoria. He was gender curious, right? But they're treating my son as if he has full-blown gender dysphoria by what I have mentioned before. The school districts, they just allowed Aiden to use the girls' bathroom. Everything. He's pretty much a girl at this point, and he's only 6 years old.
How has the restraining order impacted your ability to maintain a relationship with your son?
Well, it took my son away from me. The judge out of Pasadena ordered me to have only 2 FaceTime conversations with my son. Some of the stipulations on those FaceTime conversations, that I could not talk about his attire, and I could not talk about male things. So as I'm talking to you gentlemen right now, I had to sit there and look at my son with earrings in his ear, talking about his dresses in the dryer. He has nail polish on. He's got a tiara, a crown on his head. He's got a treasure box. And me being the father, I was not allowed to correct it. I was not allowed to say anything to him about it, because if I did say something to him about it, it'd be a restraining order violation and I could possibly put in jail.
What kind of support or resources have you found to help you navigate this emotional situation?
Man, for the first 3 years, I had nothing. I had mom and dad, Aiden's grandparents. But one day I was sitting in court and I'm just scrolling through my phone, waiting for me to see the judge. And my son's picture pops up on my screen. And I've maybe posted before all this, I only posted 2 pictures of my son. And a lady came on by the name of Lindsey Graham, better known as the Patriot Barbie. And she did a full-on video about exactly what was going on with my son. She got me introduced to a group called Mom Army, run by Seek Smith out of Phoenix. And within 2 days, they had me on phone calls with a whole host of people trying to help me get my story out and trying to save my son, Aiden. So from just about a year and a half ago, with you gentlemen, on top of 100 other people that have supported me and helped me get my story out, it's been great knowing. What's the words I'm looking for? It's been really good knowing that I'm not alone in this situation. Even though it's a messed up situation, it's good knowing that I know that if I'm having a bad day, I know I have someone to call to help me work through it.
How do you believe Aiden perceives everything happening around him at this age?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It got to I could not sit there and look at my son going through this transition over the phone. It was too difficult for me to see, and not being able to stop it and not being able to correct what was going on. Because again, if I did correct it, it'd be a violation.
What message do you hope to send to parents who might find themselves in a similar situation?
Man, I had that question yesterday with me, and the only thing being in this situation is very, very difficult, because it's such a new situation, because it's so brand new to the United States. It's been going on for a long time in Germany. It's been going on for a long time in the UK. Canada is far worse than the United States are when it comes to this stuff. But the one thing that I can truly say is, if you're not in this situation, the dinner table is where you learn about your kids. When I was a kid, I used to hate going to dinner time at 5 o'clock because I was not out with my friends. But now that I'm older and a little bit wiser, I realize how important the dinner table is. The dinner table is where you learn about your kids. You learn what's going on in their schools. You learn what's going on with them, and the kids learn about their parents. And it's time for us to bring back the dinner table, and I think we can squash a lot of what's going on is if we sit and talk with our kids.
Okay. What steps are you taking to advocate for your parental rights and your role in Aiden's life?
Well, right now we're in the middle of the appeals process. We're appealing the restraining order, and that's not even working on the custody yet. We need to get the restraining order dropped for me to be back in my son's life. So a lot of the decisions that I have made is to try to slow down the damage that has been done to Aiden, but when in fact I think it has only increased the damage that has been done to my son. I don't think, even though I dream of this day every single day of holding my son again, I don't think I will ever have the little boy that I had when he was 3 years old. Aiden was a normal little boy. He liked to do normal little boy things, and I don't think I will ever have that little boy back that I had.
I want to thank you. Just wanted to get those questions out there. I'm going to open it up for the panel.
Thank you.
What's going on, gentlemen? I know you guys been able to elaborate a little bit on the situation in here, but what questions do you guys have? What do you guys want to discuss with this?
Heavy, man.
Adam, let me ask you this real fast.
Yes,
What
sir.
state is this going on that you're in?
It's going in California. California.
Okay.
But we've
And-
got a gentleman named Ryan out of Illinois. I'm sorry, out of upstate New York, whose 11-year-old daughter is self-diagnosed and she's on her second round of puberty blockers. We've got a gentleman out of Illinois who's, I think she's 11. 11-year-old daughter is also on her second round of puberty blockers. We've got a gentleman by the name of Jeff Younger out of Texas. Because California passed a transgender sanctuary state bill, the mother was able to basically medically kidnap his twin boys, bring them to California. And as of about 3 weeks ago, the judge out of LA County ordered, he basically stripped Jeff of all of his father's rights and parental rights. And his son is now 12, can now start being basically chemically castrated at 12 years old.
And my last question for you, man, is does your son have any siblings? And if he does, what's their stance? How do they feel about this?
Again, I don't know. He does have a non-blood brother, and his non-blood brother is autistic, and I don't know. I don't know what his stance are. I know I got a feeling that he is confused because at one point his little brother was full on boy and now his brother is a girl. So the damage more damage is being done to that little boy by confusing him even further.
Do you think that she's doing this as like payback or animosity towards you?
I really do, man. I really believe that she's doing this because we're not together. She did not like my relationship with my family. She hated my mother, and she is definitely doing this to get back at me. That way Aiden has no contact with my side of the family. And his grandparents lost grandparents' rights because they were not gender affirming. So because the attorneys heard my father say, stop doing this to my grandson, he's a boy, they were able to basically strip the grandparents of grandparents' rights. So the grandparents have not seen their grandson in almost 4 years, along with me.
So is your ex-wife, right? That's who it is?
Ex-girlfriend.
Okay. So is she a crossover chick? I mean, is she a bulldagger? I mean, is that why?
I don't think so. No. I would never have known her to be that way. As long as I've known her, she's always been with guys. So she could have switched sides. But I don't know.
And that's typically not the behavior of butch lesbians. Butch lesbians are typically with try to raise boys as boys. They don't do what's happening with his son.
Yeah, and like I said, I think she has been brainwashed, because if you look at Chloe, you look at a lot of these detransitioners, a lot of the doctors will tell the parents, would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son, to kind of brainwash the parents to go along with the affirming and the medications and surgeries, because they scare the parents to think, well, if you don't affirm them now, they're going to end up committing suicide. And that's totally not true.
Can I ask you something? Now I know you mentioned you think she's been brainwashed. Has she always been like, when you all were dating, has she always been pretty accepting of, that sort of, the transitioning and things like that? Or what was her stance prior to?
I don't know her stance on the transitioning stuff or the transgender stuff, because again, we are, this is very new to the United States. I mean, we've had it around for a while, but it has not grown the tentacles like it's grown over the last, over the last few years. So I know she was 100% okay with the LGBTQ community and everything like that. I just don't know what her stance was on this type of thing, especially at the age. And again, I don't have a problem with it, but I do have a problem when it comes to the minors, when it's kids under the age of 18.
Just to be clear, did you mention that she has another child from that she had before you met her?
Yes, sir.
And you're telling me that the other child is now in the process of transitioning?
No, her other son is autistic.
He's autistic. Okay.
He's autistic, yeah. And because of the autism, that put a real, as we all know, autism is really, really hard to deal with and a very difficult situation. And that put a lot of strain on her and I's relationship because of the autism.
No, I get it. Yeah. I misheard you, because the first thing that came to my mind was Megan Fox, and all three of her sons are all girls now. And I was just like, wow, is this starting, and I'm here in Los Angeles in California, and I see this stuff all the time. And one of the reasons why we're asking you these questions in this methodical way is because by us asking this, we're vicariously allowing others that's going to watch this show to live through what the pains that you're going through. And that's why we're kind of like firing them off at you back to back to back.
No, so I love it.
Yeah, that's great. Your story is very similar to Elon's with his son, who was born Xavier. Elon's first child died back in 2002, I think. Then he had his twins, and one of his oldest twin, born Xavier Musk, is now 20 years old and is now called Vivian Wilson, I think, something like that. And I can imagine what you're going through. Elon, he blames the woke mind virus to say that that's what took away his son. And it makes me always wonder about, the mindset of the mother that this happens to, like when speaking again about Elon, he has twins with her, then he had triplets with her. So he has 5 kids by the first woman.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And his oldest living son, is the one that transitioned and petitioned a couple years ago to have his name changed and doesn't want anything to do with his father. And in fact, said he was leaving, or she, let me be correct, she is leaving the United States because Trump got elected. I'm curious, with Aiden, was there ever a family, and I get it, you guys aren't married, right? But was there ever a family situation between you and your girlfriend after Aiden was born, or did you guys kind of break up during the pregnancy? Because that'll give a lot of people perspective on, because there's a thing right now that people are saying, or women they don't want the man. They're not interested in the relationship. They just want the child. So was there ever a family situation with you, your girlfriend, and Aiden, and it broke off a little later, maybe before he turned 3, or was she kind of like, were you guys through before Aiden was even born?
No, we were, again, the autism put a real strain on our relationship. We were still together when he was born, when Aiden was born. But it really got to the tipping point. I mean, guys, let me tell you, I
lost Adam. You guys lose him, or is that just me?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
He froze.
Yeah, he froze for a second.
Is my mic hot? Let me know if I'll turn my shit down.
Trev is hot.
Yeah.
Your breath hot.
You good, Darwin? Adam, we lost you. I don't know if you can hear.
Hold on, wait, what?
Hey,
we just went from professional to fucking high school clowns.
How about now? Am I still hot?
No,
no, never.
Oh man,
I think he'll come back in. He just gotta.
I'm going.
Man, that's some painful shit, bro. That's some painful shit.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
I'm actually glad that I'm glad that he's sharing the story and we're sharing it on the platform, because a few months back when I mentioned it, you know, it was being blown off as if it wasn't happening, you know, and this is something that's really actually happening all across the nation, across the globe, and it's being pushed by, you know, a certain group of people. So I think that we
liberals,
we got to be mindful of the things that we claim to be the lesser evil, when this is some diabolical shit, and we seeing it in real time.
MPS, malicious parent syndrome. That's what they call it.
Damn.
I know it well because my mom used to do it to me when I was small. My dad was very abusive. Then when I got of a certain age, she would always say, just like your father, but he wasn't present. There's extremes to it. That is an extreme where you would do that to your son just because you loathe your prior mate. That is your power, and it is diabolical and insidious, if you would want to call it that. And for this man to come up here and be able to speak his truth, that takes a lot, because you can only have empathy for Adam, knowing that he's looking across and watch the powers that be emasculate his son, and there's nothing that he could do about it. He's pretty much handcuffed. He can't speak it unless he goes John Q. You know, I got to do what I got to do for my son. And then it's even risky enough that we have to be mindful of our conversations that we have with him, because she could be watching. And she could be like, okay, we're encouraging him. Oh, let's go talk to the man and see what's up. Brother, I feel for you. I'll keep you in my prayers, and hopefully you can touch your son and bring him back right.
And Kenny, you touched on something, because this is not only.
Well, hold on. We lost Adam. He was in the middle of something. So before we move on, Adam, we lost you. I'm glad you're back. I was asking you about the family dynamic right before, you know, at what point, because, you know, I don't know if it's a situation where she just did she really, you know, how was it at the time that Aiden was born, and how did it break up, or was there a family dynamic, or was there not one?
We did have a family dynamic, but she did not like the relationship that I had with my mom and my dad. She always told me, why can't you love me like you love your mother? And I would always tell her there's two different types of love. There's the love that I have for my mother, and then there's a love that I have for you. They're completely two different loves. It doesn't mean I love you less or I love you more. There's just she could not understand that there was two different types of love. And it was that kind of stuff really put a strain on me, her not trusting me, not trusting my mom, not trusting my dad. And there was nothing to not trust about my parents. And that was another wedge that really drove into our relationship. The not the distrust, but just well, I don't want you to hang out with your parents. You need to hang out with us more. And I was like, I'm hanging out with you guys more because we all live together than I do. I'm just texting my parents. It was nothing weird about it, but she thought it was.
So, and it wasn't a situation where it's like a mama's, you know, that's interesting. And I'll wrap it up. My questions at this, you know, you mentioned that your parents are still married. It's 45 years plus. They've been together. I have to ask, was your son's mother raised in a 2-parent household? And did she have a good relationship with her father?
No, she did not have a good relationship with her father. Both parents are separated. The mother separated from my son's mother's father very young. So it was, she's got dad issues or daddy issues. She doesn't like her dad very much, so that, yeah, she's got a lot of trust issues. A lot of trust issues.
Yeah,
Adam,
Adam. That's one of the things that we talk about here on King Talk. What we give a lot of advice on young men on raising their own children. We give a lot of advice on young men in the dating scene. I myself, I've been married twice. I'm twice divorced, and there's a lot of things that I know now that I didn't know before. One thing that a lot of us agree on this panel is making sure that we are giving our efforts to women who love their father. And you could learn a lot about a woman early on if you see if she doesn't have or hates her dad, and I hate that this turned out for you. Maybe you didn't see the red flags early on, but it just kind of speaks to what we talk about. I think Viz, you was getting ready to ask something.
No, it was Sweeney. Sweeney, let's go to Sweeney, then let's go to Law.
Go ahead, Sweeney.
Started talking.
Oh no, I was just gonna add on to what Kenny said, where he was speaking to the emasculation of this of Adam's son. But if you honestly think about it, this is also a public emasculation of himself, of Adam himself, where he's not being allowed to be a father in his child's life. You know what I mean? This is wrong on so many levels. And you know what I mean? When I seen what they were talking about, of course, I immediately Googled your name and everything, and I'm just reading through this like they putting this man through the ringer right now. And this is kind of what I talk about when I say that, you know what I mean? Not everybody is able to fight that battle, to fight that war that he's fighting right now. Not everybody's in a position to be able to do that. So him talking about this publicly, I can only imagine, to Viz's point, how many people are going through this behind closed door where they don't have a dog in the, well, not a dog in the fight, but they don't have a chance. Well, that's all I really got to say on it, man. Adam, man, I feel for you, bro. And I mean, I wish I wish there was something I can do, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead, Law.
Yeah, Adam, I want to ask, man, does she have like what's her family dynamics like? Does she have any other siblings or any brothers or anything like that, to your knowledge?
Yeah, she's got one sister. A very broken, very broken household. Very, very broken household, and not a very good family dynamic. I know that's something that she always wanted, was a good family dynamic. But she seemed to sabotage it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. She wanted it, but then she ended up sabotaging a good family dynamic. I worked a lot, just to get to California, and I would get, kind of, beat up for working too much, but she wasn't working. I was the only one that was working. So I was doing 2 jobs, getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake up at 4 o'clock. I would shoot to my second job at 4 o'clock, and I would work from 6 a.m. to 2:30 in the afternoon, sleep, and then go back to work again, and she didn't like how much I worked. I think she would have been a lot happier if I would have quit my jobs and gone on, I guess, government assistant. That way we were all together all the time, than me actually work.
I hate it, man. I was hoping you had maybe some allies over there on your side to try and be a voice of reason, but it just seems like it's like you're alone in this.
I am, but I'm not. Just because this whole gender stuff is so new that we don't have enough case studies like this where I can hire. Well, I've got a good attorney, but my attorney can't just sit down and go through bills. Sorry, guys, my internet keeps going in and out. I don't know why. But we've got these really bad bills here in the state of California. The one real bad one is AB 665 12-year-olds can now emancipate themselves here in the state of California. We've got the SB 107 that they just passed. It's a transgender sanctuary state bill. We've got AB 1955, where if your child is feeling like they're a different gender or they have some type of mental illness in school, the school district doesn't have to notify the parents. So these bills that they're passing here in the state of California are completely 100% against parents, and they're really and they do nothing but hurt the children.
Man, Sweeney, you said something that actually can be done. Maybe not in his state, but we got to be paying attention to these judges and to these politicians that people are voting for. It goes right back to the identity politics, the I'm only going to vote for this person because I don't like the other person. Like, there's all of the shit that the Democrats, I'm gonna just be flat out and say it, that they stand for, pushes this very narrative.
Are you really doing that right now when they put 300 judges, the Republicans under Trump put 300 of these judges all over the country? So the chances are it being a Democratic judge,
Trump
are highly low. And we need to
Trump
get to that
openly spoke about going at people and doctors that back this very thing to children.
Okay, so
you can make whatever argument you want. Adam is shaking his head to it. He's actually experiencing it. So it's one
Adam
thing for
is
you to
experiencing
say
something dealing with
it's
his
one thing
child.
for you to say something because you feel a certain type of way, because you're emotionally attached to this party, compared to this man actually experiencing it.
Okay, so why'd you bring it up?
Because I'm addressing what Sweeney said. I'm not derailing nothing. All I'm saying is that if you're in that state, simply vote for the politicians that don't support this shit. It's that simple.
Okay, so that is local. So let's focus on the man.
That's
and
state.
Okay, isn't state local, sir?
Right. So what are you talking about?
Why'd you try to offer a correction?
What's your point?
Okay,
Let's make sure we stay back on track, y'all.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. There need to be petitions, and there need to be boots on the ground regarding certain things like this, because we all know that if it was a woman and you switch shoes, there's 1,001 places and advocates and people that be picking it in front of every Capitol building when it comes to men. How many safe havens do they have? Like a handful? What was it, 2 or 3 throughout this country? Yeah. So I do understand what you're going through, and I don't want it to be derailed by the politics of things. It's more so humanity and common sense that should take place here. Where in the world can a 12-year-old that barely learned to put their shoes on and can't even make a sandwich are being allowed to make adult decisions on their anatomy? Cognitive reasoning is not even there yet.
California. Come on. Welcome to LA. New York. And New York's next.
California is a doggy state.
New York's next. It's coming to your doorstep, Kenny. It's coming and knocking on your door, big dog.
There was a story of a father in Canada. He got locked up for it. So
here's the bullshit
is a real
about
thing.
Here's the bullshit. They passed all them laws for this gender identity shit, but they can't do nothing about the kids that act up in school. They can't do nothing about the kids that bully other kids in school. All of a sudden, their hands are tied. Now they don't know what to do. They can't do anything about that. They can't do nothing about when kids are ditching school or ensuring that the kids make it to school. They can't do none of that shit. But y'all can do some gender affirming shit. Y'all can pass every law to the degree in which a kid can emancipate themselves at fucking 12.
And remember, Sweeney, some of this stuff is not even, it wasn't voted upon. You got to understand, like, even in this past election, without us getting political, 10 counties here in California flipped from blue to red. It was 36% of California voted for Trump. We were like, whoa, like, there's an awakening happen even in some of these states, because some people are saying, okay, enough is enough. You even got people from the alphabet community that's saying enough is enough. They're hijacking our movement. We're not with them. So it's a lot of craziness going on. And some of these things that you guys are hearing about, man, are executive orders. They're just telling us what they're gonna do. It was like, well, who voted on that? What LA County or Orange County or San Francisco? Who? Nobody voted on it. Just the governor and a bunch of lobbyists got together and they pulled some strings and made it happen without the people's voice. They're just doing it because they're being lobbied to do so, because I don't know if it's pharmaceuticals, I don't know if it's big, if it's Wall Street, I have no idea how, but it just happens. And then the people in the school board or the people in the school districts got to do what they're told to do, Sweeney. It's crazy.
The statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't necessarily invidious or whatever. But as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, that there is absolutely a parallel between any law that says you can't act inconsistent with a protected characteristic and in all other contexts.
I'm gonna go to Adam. I know Adam wanted to say something. Adam, if I'm muting you, it's only because I know you're on the phone and it's giving feedback. So I'm not mute. I'm just muting in between just to reduce the noise. But go ahead. Let me take you off. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. So I want to touch on something. So I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned why we can't correct the bad kids and the bullying and everything like that in the schools. That's because there's no money to be made with that. There's so much taxpayer money to be made with transgender surgeries on minors. And when the children go in for their puberty blockers, they are going to be a lifelong customer of Big Pharma. Right now, children's hospitals are making around $4.2 million per child in the transgender, the gender clinics. Also, they can get free transgender taxpayer funded transgender surgeries on minors. So whether you're with it or against it, you're still paying for it because of California gender affirming care. Taxpayers are paying for this, and we are looking at some of the after effects of what these medications and surgeries do to these kids. They have to stay at the hospital and get continuous care for all these all the bad stuff that happens to them afterwards. Chloe Cole, she is still leaking from where she had a double mastectomy, and no one is helping her. We've got a guy out of Utah who's detransitioning, and he's got tics. He has seizures. He can't stay focused. He's in really, really bad shape right now. But once you detransition, the health insurance companies wash the hands of these kids. They go, oh, you don't want to do it anymore? All right, cool, we're done. And you're going to have to figure out your own way onto how to get your help. Another thing that I wanted to mention on the judges, these judges that are in the family court system are activist judges. So here in the state of California, they are governor appointed for the family court. Both my judges that I had, one was on the AFCC. The AFCC is an organization of family court judges and attorneys. If you go on their webpage, it has nothing but LGBTQ flags on there. So my first judge was on the board of directors. I did a podcast exposing the AFCC. The next court case, he recuses himself after 3 years. Nobody knows why. He gave no excuse why he removed himself. But a lot of us think it's because of that podcast we did. And you know who they dropped me over to? The president of the AFCC. So now this judge is hearing 2 cases of 2 fathers who's lost custody of their son, and both sons are being transitioned by the mother to be a girl. And this one judge is ruling on 2 cases like that. And they have the immunity. So if they do something wrong, as we all know, we can't go after the judges because they have immunity. So we need to get rid of the immunity for these judges. The people need to vote, especially on family court judges. And family court really needs to be defunded and restructured from the bottom up. No more corruption in the family court, because the family court is a revolving door for money. There's no money to be made with the safe parent, because once the safe parent has the child, that money door is closed. But if you keep the child with the unsafe parent, that revolving door is going to be continuously going around. Everybody's making money. The judge is making money. Minors counsel is making money. The attorneys are making money. Oh, I need $50,000 for a retainer, and I'm $450 an hour. I'm $150 per email. What father has that type of money? No father has $50,000 just lying around, plus $450 per email and per phone call.
Yeah, not to mention the mental anguish that comes along with that.
Dude,
I had experience. I had went through family court with my first daughter, and it was the worst period of my life. It was depleting, depressing, and like you said, every month it's a continuance.
Dude, yes. Yes. If I hear that one word one more time, that's it. I'm done. I hate that word.
Yeah, they don't care. It's just about the money.
Yeah, so it appears that California is just an anti-family state, right? It's like they find every way to be against the family, like as far as taking the power away from men, which is going to destroy the family, as far as making sure you don't have access to your children, right? To me, it's almost like in a state like that, it's like they're recruiting, right? Because maybe they don't have enough in their realm, so they would, because it seems as if they're trying to create people with gender dysphoria or whatever. It seems like there is some sort of an agenda behind it, which is horrible, because the nuclear family is what built this country, and destroying the family is always going to be messed up. So I commend you on coming up and telling your story and everything. I'm also familiar with raising a child with autism, right? So I understand it takes a tremendous amount of patience, and it will absolutely, or can, put a strain on your relationship. But from what I gather from what you've already disclosed to us, it seems as if it wasn't going to be that, then it could have been the fact that you were working, or it seems as if your girlfriend was going to find some sort of way to have a reason to go wrong with you, right? And I say that because, for one, she didn't have that good example, and for two, she just wasn't in the frame of mind. She probably put herself before anything else. She didn't understand the duty of a family. And I think that's something that we're seeing a lot more, is that we are becoming hyper individualists, and particularly women just don't understand the duty of a marriage, the duty of raising a family, the duty of children, and putting them first. And I can't see how anyone on the planet who has their child's best interest in mind would go ahead and tell you, oh, yeah, I think my little boy's a girl, that would be an absolute nightmare for me, right? I don't even know what the hell I would be going through. So I like for you to be dealing with that. We can certainly like sympathize with you, because that's just crazy. I don't know, like you everyone, every man here, they're excited to have their son, and they have dreams of what their son is going to be. We have plans for him, and for her to really I would say single-handedly derail the entire situation is crazy to me. Like that. Yeah. So anything that we could do to support the movement, whether it's exposure, talking about it collectively as individuals, whatever, we're for all that, because we hate to see what's happening to you and what's happening to society in general, right? This is not something that we should have to deal with as men. You should have some sort of a say. You should have 50% of the control, right? And in my opinion, I feel like you should be the one guiding the family. You should be making those decisions as the man, and your significant other is supposed to follow that. And the only thing I would say is that I would hope that maybe you could say some of the things, because we got a lot of younger listeners too, where people want to know what the red flags were. So if there were times where you feel there were certain things that you could pinpoint to say, well, damn, you know what? Because there's red flags. We see these things. There's certain things where you know that she just doesn't take direction from you. She doesn't listen. There's always something to be able to pinpoint, like, damn, this isn't going to work. Because more and more men, if we're not able to discern these types of things, then we're not going to be able to fight against it. We need to be able to discern these things off rip and avoid these types of women entirely, because they're a detriment to society, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think some of the red flags that I would, if you've got a good relationship with your family and your significant other does not like your other family, I think that's a real red flag. I see that now, but again, I was in love with her, and I kind of thought, well, maybe things would change, but in fact, it just progressively got worse. And I think, if you've got a good relationship with your family or your mother or your dad, and your partner does not like either one of them, that is a major red flag. I look at that now as a huge red flag. Trying to separate you from your family is another red flag. If she is not wanting to go to the other family's house, but only wants to stay home and doesn't want to do anything with your other family, I think that's another isolating you. She was trying to isolate me from my family. So I think those are two big red flags for me.
So if I could chime in, we do focus on a lot of statistics and stuff, data that's provided online by other sources and stuff. Well, we also try to keep in mind for anecdotal experiences and look at the statistics on that side per, interaction with the people that we talk to. So I guess my question is to you, and this might not be recorded statistically. This is just something that I guess everybody on the panel and in the discussion may be able to see happening, or may be able to see as justified to stamp. And when I say stamp, I mean by the father being removed from the house, is it safe to say that the likelihood or the risk of the kids being exposed to the LGBT or just conforming to that increases, or that doesn't matter?
No, I think it matters. I mean, whether you've got two parents in a household or a father in a household, you send your kid to public school, and you're entrusting the public school to teach your child the basics. But here in California, it's almost that the rainbow flag has completely taken over everything. And where LA County is paying for drag queen story hours,
We had a drag queen story hour in San Fernando Valley. You know, taxpayers are paying for these things. So when you walk into a school, there's no American flags, but the teachers got the LGBTQ flag behind them. You know, your children are being indoctrinated, you know, as they go into the school. You could have a strong Christian home or religious home that believes in the traditional family values, but once that child leaves your care and goes into the school system, they're going to get onslaughted by all this you know, progressiveness or woke culture or whatever you want to call it, and then you're going to have to deprogram once they get home. You know, it really takes, again, it takes two parents, a mother and a father, to really build a strong family unit, you know. And a lot of us are strapped, especially here in California. Some of us are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Not a lot of families can afford to keep going to the school districts, but you got to go to the school districts. You got to go to the school board meetings. You got to hear what books they're pushing into the school system. I mean, some of the books that they're pushing is absolutely outrageous. I follow a guy, I'll slaughter his name, but Reverend Amachuko, and he goes to school board meetings and reads some of these books that they're pushing into the school systems. And
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This is we're talking about California, just to,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So for the men out there in California, how do you think it's a fairly good amount of men who are aware that this is the risk of living in that state? That, you know what I'm saying, you have a school system that's pushing it, or you think these men are walking around oblivious to this? Because I would argue that, and I'm not trying to push back on anything. I'm just trying to figure out ways to avoid. So I would argue that if there's a fairly good amount of men who are educated or up to speed, like I notice how this state works. I know if I go and have kids and make a family in the state, this is the shit I'm gonna have to deal with. So do you believe it's a fairly good amount of men that are aware of this tripwire? I'm gonna call it a tripwire.
I think it's down the middle. I think 50-50, and I think a lot of men don't want to know that it's happening. I mean, it's a difficult subject, you know, it's a touchy subject to deal with something like this. You know, some people don't want to get involved. Some people don't want to open their mouth because they're afraid that they're going to get fired from their jobs. They're afraid that they're going to lose friends or they're going to lose family members. But it's worth it if you're going to save your kid from this stuff. You know.
So it's important as content creators who can't really, pretty much got a protective shield around themselves to kind of maybe focus on what's going on in particular states, because some of the stuff is very specific, like men have to deal with. Because I have a channel of my own, and I talk about a lot of stuff on as far as self-awareness, especially in relationships, but I never really touch on the laws and how the state's influence can affect your children and stuff like that. So maybe I need to kind of not pivot, but, you know, include that in my content. Another thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think the more people are informed, especially if you're living and not in California, but I think if people talk, you don't have to spend an hour on bills, but if you can, you know, take a bill like, you know, AB 957. AB 957 here in California was a bill that would charge a parent or parents child abuse if they were not gender affirming, right? Gavin Newsom vetoed that bill, but left it up to the family court's discretion. You know, not a lot of people know about those type of bills. So I think as contact creators, we don't have to spend, you know, 20 minutes or an hour again, but if we spend 5 seconds on a bill, letting know people, and then they can do their research. But I think people need to know, because they're just passing bills without people voting on it, or they're passing bills without nobody knowing about it. I would never have known about any of these bills if it wasn't for the internet. You know, California would have passed all these bills. No one would have been down there protesting them. Nobody would have been down there talking about them. But because of the influencers coming out and saying, hey, this bill is horrible, this is what it's going to do to kids, then the state gets pushed back, and these politicians get pushed back. They're like, wait a second, the people that voted for me are not liking this bill that I'm pushing. Maybe I better check myself. So I think it's onto us, or as you guys as content creators, to let people know, because we can't trust the mainstream media, as we know, on a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
But parents need to know what's going on in their school districts and around everywhere.
Another thing, I know you talked about you weren't married to this woman, right?
Right.
Just to give you a little quick thing about me, I kind of push marriage a lot. I'm more so on the outcomes that you want, and then whenever you ask me my opinion, then I'm going to push marriage.
Right.
But is it safe to say that you just being your baby mother, like you're just having a kid not out of wedlock, that the family, that you didn't go through a family court process, and had you been married, you would have been forced to go through a family process, which means it would have been joint custody likely, which also means that if you would have had your son 50% of the time, you would have had more influence over this situation.
I think
I'm just trying to rule out the fact that because I would argue, if you would have been married, you would have had to go through the family court process on a breakup. Then you would have had joint custody. None of this would have, or the likelihood of it happening would have never happened. I'm just trying to rule that out.
Right, but we're not dealing with a normal family court custody case. We're dealing with gender, and we're dealing with a situation that is very, very new. So if I went into family court without the whole transitioning of my son, I think I would have gotten 50% custody, and you and I and all of us would never be talking. But because it has to do with transgender or socially transitioning a small minor child, they're going to rule with the gender affirming parent. Hands down. If this wasn't involved, we would never be talking. But because I'm not gender affirming, she's gender affirming, they're going to side with her on this stuff.
But you can kind of understand why I kind of asked that question, because it's just something inside of me just making me feel like that I just don't see that from what you what you told me. I just didn't see that there was a point in the beginning where you had the kid 50% of the time, and she had the kid 50% of the time. And then it's something making me think like maybe if that was prevalent in your story and what you brought up, something's just telling me that maybe the influence on him being gender conforming wouldn't have been as strong because he would have been spending half of the time with you. So that's the only reason why I had asked that question.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Answer, Adam. I'm going to ask you something after.
Yeah, it all seems down to not being gender affirming. That's all this case has to do with is not being gender affirming parent. And again, I tried to not accept it, but go along with it. So that little boy had his father and a male role model in his life. But every time that I tried to conform or I tried to agree to their stipulations, they always gave me more stipulations. So we went 7 months on visitations, right? Every time I agreed to one of their stipulations, there was another stipulation, only to receive an email saying, sorry, Adam, but we dropped the ball. And I wrote him back, you guys were never going to give me my son back. You guys were going to keep dangling the carrot in front of me and keep stringing me along, but you guys were never going to give me my son back. You always roadblocked me. You always figured out some way why we could not set up visitations.
Hold on. So basically what you're saying, when your kid was maybe 1 or 2 years old, you only had visitations?
No, I had Aiden till he was 3 years old. 3 years old was when I lost all custody of Aiden. So we had 50% custody, right? Okay. I had him Wednesdays, Saturdays, and then every other weekend. And I worked my ass off to keep it out of the family court system because I knew that I was going to get screwed over when I went into the family court system. So I agreed to everything that she wanted, You want him on his birthday? Great. As long as I can have him the day after. You want him Christmas Day? Great. I'll take him Christmas Eve. I did everything to stay out of the family court system.
So, Adam, let me ask you this question. And this is something that we discuss in the Black manosphere. This is something we discuss in relationship dynamics for a lot of people. You know, we tell a lot of women, you need to go back to your baby daddy. You know, when we're pointing at women and being single mothers and the struggles they're having in dating, and then we hear a lot of men. I hear you say, you know what? It's important that our children have a two-parent household for the betterment of the child. And we always talk about how parents need to sacrifice and do what they need to do to make sure that the outcome for their children is best. Now, you and your girl, you guys broke up. Notwithstanding the marriage part, forget the marriage part. That's for Darwin. For me, I'm just talking about the relationship. Do you think, in hindsight, you know, it's because it's always 2020, right? It's always clear afterwards. Do you think now that you could have worked it out with her to make sure that Aiden, that you would have been the dad in the home? I know you worked hard, and I know that she wanted you to quit your job and to go on government assistance and be a welfare man. But do you think, in hindsight, that maybe that's something that you should have considered or even done to make sure that Aiden would be raised the way that you knew he needed to be raised? Because I want to ask you, or do you think that maybe you were a little selfish and saying, you know what, I don't like her that much that I'm going to go ahead and leave and try to work this out in 50-50 custody and stuff. And then it went sideways as a result of you, because you said that she wanted the relationship and she's kind of doing this because she couldn't be with you.
Right.
I'm wondering if she would have gotten what she wanted in being with you, could you have grinned and bared it to make sure Aiden would have been the son that you wanted him to be?
I wish, to be honest, and I'm being truthful, I wish every single day that me and her were together. I do. I miss the second child. You know, I miss the autistic child, as difficult as that was. He called me dad. I miss my son. Even though me and her had some bad times, me and her still had some really, really good times together. I truly wish that we are not in the situation that we were in. But a lot of stuff had transcribed in that relationship that I knew that there was no working out. Being punched in the back of the head.
Right. I was going to say, well,
yeah,
you had to call the cops on her once. I got you, but keep going.
Being punched in the face, being drug off the bed, being locked in a room, having to crawl out a back window to leave the house just to get out of the house. You know, if none of that would have happened, I would have tried. And I even have it on record stating that every time that me and her got into a fight, I always walked away. I always left the house when me and her got into a fight and left. But it only seemed to make things worse. I only received text messages stating, "Oh, you left me and you're never coming back." And I always said, "I'm coming back. I'm leaving the situation so it doesn't get out of control." And I've always been taught that, leave the situation.
Adam, you know, I respect your plight, but there has to be a point in time when you stop looking at her as your mate or a woman. That was an opponent. You understand? You know, you realize what can happen if somebody punch you in the back of your neck. They could kill you.
Yep.
At what point in time, I don't condone violence, you put your foot down and restraining and put order in your household?
Brother,
and
you can't.
I know
I couldn't do it.
Okay,
I think
so
it's better that if it was a man on man, I'm not letting no man put hands on me.
I didn't say beat. I didn't say. I said restrain and subdue the individual that is pounding on you.
He'll go to jail, Kenny.
Okay,
yeah, I will go. In California, I would have gone to jail.
He will go to
Whether I was
jail.
defending myself or not, I would have still gone to jail.
Okay, so
and I
how
think
many times did that happen?
It happened 4 or 5 times.
Okay, so with the dynamic that you gave me, when did you realize that wasn't a safe space to be and would make preemptive moves to get out of that?
I think preemptive moves would be to, once we've gotten to the verbal argument, me noticing and realizing that the situation is not calming down and not bringing back to a level by leaving the house, getting in the car, and absolutely leaving. I think that right there is better than staying continuing the argument and continuing the fight.
Okay, so you left and you came back and got some more of what she was dishing to you, and you told us earlier that if given an opportunity, you would be back with her and love her. Brother, I think you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome.
No, I'm not suffering from Stockholm. I said if that would not been the case, I would have worked it out. I would not have left the situation. If none of that stuff was in play, I would have worked it. I would not have left.
Yeah,
But
he qualified it.
because
He qualified it, Kenny.
Okay, I recant what I said, but that once the hand play started, that should have been a sign. And if it was just the one time, I could understand. You counted 4 or 5 times. If the shoes were switched, all it took was one time for you to do something to her. So at what point in time did you value your own life and safety?
I think my son trumped everything else. I wanted to stay with my son and be with my son. And I think a lot of men suffer from this type of stuff, and they never say nothing, and 2, they just deal with it. Sometimes it's cheaper to keep them, is the saying, but I couldn't, I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live with the constant fighting, and I couldn't live with her hating on my parents that have done nothing wrong, and I don't know.
Hey, so Adam, was you guys' relationship through the gate kind of built off of that? Was it like a make up to break up, make up sex type of deal? Was that a big dynamic of the relationship early on?
No, it was not the relationship early on. We were actually really, really happy in the early stages of our relationship. We did normal. It was not makeup or breakup sex. It was never always about the sex. We just had a really, really good time hanging out, going out, and doing stuff together. But once the autism got in there, the severity of his autism, the screaming, the yelling, the going 6 months without talking to anybody. He never hit me or his grandmother, but he always beat up on his mom. And not because he wanted to, but just because of the autism. And for me, there was nothing that I could do to protect my son's mother from that. I knew he wasn't doing it on purpose, but it was really difficult for me to sit there and have to watch that and not have anything able to do to help the situation.
So when you met her, she already had a child with someone else.
Yes.
So Adam, let me ask you something. Why'd you never file a police report?
Damn, nigga.
Hey, Kenny, like, come on, man.
I did file a police report.
Okay. Oh, let's hold on 1 second. Viz, what is the problem with me asking that?
Oh, I feel like the questions that you're asking it's like you're probing down a path that's kind of irrelevant to what he's experiencing.
Actually, it is relevant because we probably have men in the audience that are listening that when I bring up key points, I'm not being heavy-handed with him because he is going through his plight. And I also stated how I felt about it, and I gave him my empathy. As for moving forward, we have 100 and some odd people watching. Some men might be in this audience right now, and they might need the hard talking to wake them up and say, you know what, protect yourself. So what is the problem with that?
It is in man's nature to protect their offspring, and essentially he was enduring that in order to do so. So I agree with what you're saying, but for the most part, any man naturally is going to do exactly what he did in order to try to be a part of his son's life and to keep their family together. So I think probing him on that, I think, is irrelevant, because we all know that.
Okay, not beating up
clear.
on that man. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 men on this panel, and I would die on the hill that I believe that they would handle that situation differently. Okay, minus you.
Look,
well, Kenny, so what was your question about the police report? Because you know she got arrested. So what was your question about the police report?
I mean, because I was going to ask the same question. Did he file paperwork every time the domestic violence situation arose? Because I think that should be able to help your situation, knowing that she's abusive and knowing, what your conspiracy is. Hey, I feel like that, she's doing this to try to get back.
Not in California.
I filed a police report when she hit me in the back of the head. She was arrested. She was not charged with anything. She had to do no anger management. She had to do no child abuse classes. She'd gotten absolutely nothing. I don't want my son in I don't want my son in rainbow shoes, and I specifically said that on a FaceTime conversation. The next day, I have 15 police officers in front of my house. Okay, because I had a conversation with her over a FaceTime conversation. They did a search warrant on my house. They removed my stuff, took my guns from me. I sat in cuffs for 4.5 hours in my living room. 4.5 hours in my living room. The cops didn't know what they were going to do. They're on the phone with their supervisors. I get drug out of my house like El Chapo. I've got the whole front of my house filled with police cars. I end up having to go to jail. I have to do 52 weeks of anger management. I got to do 52 weeks of child abuse classes. I'm sitting in a room full of these guys that actually beat up their damn kids. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what the fuck did I do? I didn't want my son.
Call.
Yeah,
just a
I didn't want
FaceTime
my
call.
son in rainbow shoes.
And some text messages.
Yeah.
She literally hit him in the back of the head, got arrested for it.
They
didn't even get a slap on the hand. It was just sent back home. California is different, y'all.
They swept it all under
the rug. I wouldn't last out there, brother.
Yeah,
listen, they only knew how.
It don't
there's
sound
a reason why
my son.
I took a picture of my swollen face.
Other than that, California ain't shit.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a mass exodus.
Hold on. I think Adam was still talking, y'all.
I took a picture of my swollen face. I showed it to minors counsel, and I showed it to her attorney, and they're all, that doesn't look like nothing. That's exactly what I was told.
You're a man.
Jesus.
Yep.
And there's not very many men out there that are going to call the cops and be like, oh, I just got domestic violence. You know what I'm saying?
That's the problem. We need to, if it happens.
So I took the abuse, and the last time I was like, I'm not gonna take it no more. And I also felt that if I left the situation after she hit me in the face, I'm gonna leave. She's gonna trump up charges on me and be like, oh, he hit me, and I'm gonna get arrested for domestic violence. So me staying there so the cops got there showed them that I was not the domestic violencer. It was her, but they still swept it all under the rug.
Adam, if California, if the state of California was a red state, do you think that it would the situation that you're in be different?
I don't. I shouldn't say that. The only reason why I say that is because of Jeff Younger's case. Jeff Younger's from Texas. He had the Texas legislator trying to help him out, and they still allowed the mother to remove the child and bring his twin boys to California. Texas allowed that happen. We all think Texas is this great state. We think the Republicans are this great politics, but sometimes they're no better than the Democrats. And because
Texas allowed that to happen. He was in a deep red state, and the Texas government still allowed those two little boys to be taken from Texas into California.
But see, the difference about that, Adam, is that with Jeff's case, they sent him to California out of what Darwin is asking. See, Darwin is saying if California was red, would it have happened? My personal opinion, Darwin, nope. It wouldn't have. If Jeff's case would have stayed in Texas and not came to California, I think the outcome would be different because the legislation is different. Remember, we have a lot of stuff that's happening here in California that we, the people, don't want to do. But they just put it on us. We wake up one morning and say, "Oh, we got a new law." It's like, who voted on it? So, when we, I know how it seems. It's like it's California. Like everybody here in California ain't crazy. It's not all the people. We got a lot of crazy ones. Don't get me wrong, but it ain't all of us. It's a lot of people in power that's crazy, and it's almost like they holding us over a barrel because it's hard to live here. The road just our schools is messed up. The gas is high. The rent is high. It's tough and it's almost hard to navigate. And then you got the entire government just doing what the hell they want to do, and we don't know where the money's going, and so we can't do business here. They taxing the shit out of us. It's just really hard. But the people here, in my opinion, are great. It's just that there's a lot of people here that vote these crazy people in. It's kind of weird, man. But to answer your question, Darwin, I think if this was a red state with red government, that wouldn't happen like it does.
And I think I'm a little jaded too, just because of my situation that I'm in. I don't trust the politicians. We've got a lot of politicians that can do a lot of good for us. And I think a lot of politicians, whether you're on the blue side or red side or whatever side you're on, we've got politicians that could squash this transgender stuff right in its tracks. But we don't see it exactly. It's all about the money. All about the money.
That goes right into my statement I was going to make. Shan, just imagine the press, the pushback that it will be if Texas legislators went up against California, this being a safe state for them to be able to do this. If they would have got dragged, they would have been called every name in the book. It would have been nationwide news. So it's almost not worth it.
Viz, you're absolutely right about that, because even if you think about the immigration issue, when Greg Abbott when they jumped in front of Greg Abbott when it came to letting people cross the border, he was damn near half the country was against him. And then they basically forced him to allow it to happen. And that's why, if you notice, that's why he started shipping people out to sanctuary cities on buses. That was a G move by him, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. That was a G move.
So Adam,
yeah, you're right. So it would have made national if Texas would have went against them.
Man, what?
It would have made national news.
Hey Adam, what if somebody? Okay, what did this happen in 20? What year was that again? Like whenever he was 2 years old and this happened. I just want to get the year first.
It was 2021 when he was on his 3rd birthday.
Coming out of COVID.
Okay, yeah. So I know that certain presidencies enforce policies, and it kind of trickles over to the next presidency for a minute until they change some of the stuff. What percentage of this you think was impacted, or what percentage of you think Obama's presidency played in this impact on your child's situation?
I can't really comment on how that administration played a role in all of this. I know that this administration has played a key role in this. I mean, we've got 2 transgender people in the administration right now. One is the Administration of Health, you know, and then we have that other bald-headed dude that prances around in red dresses. So I know that this administration now has played a 100% key role in what is happening to our kids, you know, along with TikTok and social media and everything like that. But I don't know exactly what that administration role played in everything that we're seeing now.
Okay,
The only
let's
reason why
touch
I'm
on
asking
it.
is because a lot of people argue that his presidency, specifically Obama's, pretty much kicked off the driving force of the LGBT community and all its gender conforming.
Okay,
That's just an
so
argument. I don't know if it can be
That
proven
man
true.
he
I
put
like
the
when people
rainbow
Have you
colors
had about speaking
on the-
out?
on the
That
right.
I'm gonna be like murdered. Like one day I'm gonna be walking down the street and somebody's gonna come up and like shoot me or something.
That's a really scary thing to be worrying about at 10 years old.
Yeah, that should not be a worry.
Michelle, what's going through your mind as you hear your daughter say this?
It's just hard to hear her say that. And she asked me three questions after she heard who won the election. Are we gonna have to move? Are they gonna take me away from you? And am I not gonna be able to get my medicine? It's frightening.
We've seen Republicans put a lot of money and energy into transgender issues. More than $200 million were spent this election cycle in anti-trans ads. What does that feel like to have so much attention by all these politicians on your identity?
It makes me feel like they think we're puppets that they can play with, and it's just so wrong.
It made you feel disrespected?
Made me feel like literally dead inside. It's probably honestly the worst thing I've ever felt. I've heard transphobic politicians that say, no, you have the wrong gender, you're confused, honey. No, myself is a fact, not an opinion. And they don't get to decide that for me. I get to decide that for myself.
Man, if you don't get these, look right. I want to jump in real quick because it's infuriating, bro. When you watch this mess, hold on.
CNN.
Listen, man, we gotta stop with this. You know what I'm saying? You hear these kids parroting bullshit that they heard they neurotic mothers saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not coming from you. You're not worried about nobody shooting you walking down the street. Where you think you live at? Chicago? Come on, man, shut up with this shit. It's so ridiculous when you hear it. And one thing that I noticed, I don't know if y'all picked up on it when they addressed the mother. One thing that I saw that was an issue was her hyphenated last name. I'm gonna keep it real. That's an issue to me. When I see that as a red flag. Plain and simple. You're the one teaching this little boy this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's a little boy, and you got him sitting here with his nails and all this bullshit on, playing dress up because you want to live out this fantasy of this bullshit. You know, I'm sick of it, man. It's infuriating to actually see. It bothers me, and then you got them just parroting the BS that they hear you say. These kids, they wouldn't know anything about this mess if y'all wasn't pushing it on them anyway. But whatever, man.
Did y'all take a notice?
So my thing is this: why is this not against the goddamn law, man? I mean, to me, I'm putting you in the same category as a pedo. You know, goddamn difference, man. You are emotionally damaging your child when you allow this shit to go down. Yeah, I don't see it as no difference. You're an abuser. However you want to say it, you are an abuser. Now, if you want a daughter, you got a son, how about you go out there and adopt you a goddamn daughter and enjoy life? Or if you want you got a daughter, you want a son, go out there and adopt a little boy. There's plenty of them out there that need homes. Do this shit. Instead, you want to cross the motherfucker over and make him one, even though he probably don't even really want, but you want to make him one, and now you brainwashing your child into thinking this is okay, this is right. I may be the only one on this hill, and I'm going to die on this motherfucker by my goddamn thing, but this shit is abuse.
You're absolutely right, brother.
Did y'all notice something? There were no fathers there. Did y'all notice that? There was not one man behind any of those women or those children.
Of course not.
It looked like church to me.
And as for broaching the topic that Darwin put up, I was one of the biggest detractors because I believe Obama dropped the ball because he did more for that community than he did for us. And I hold the views of Michael Eric Dyson, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, as for what led that regime and, you know, why a lot of black people were soured on him. But in the pandemic, you had a new president. And if that was on the top 10 list or top 20 list of things, not much did change. You understand? It just got more emboldened under Trumpito. So we would want to be very careful because it took traction from Obama, but it was furthered along and it went through the 4 years that Trump was there. So let's give both sides accountability. Huh?
Are you saying that Trump amplified it?
He did nothing to dismiss it.
Did he have the Senate? Did he have the majority vote on the House?
Okay, so I know the three branches you don't know much about, but he was doing what he wanted to do. You understand? And he wasn't getting any pushback. Mitch McConnell, he stopped fighting him. The Republicans gave him everything he wanted. I didn't see any one of y'all that voted red out there telling, okay, take care of this issue because it's getting too far along. Under his watch, it stayed. So let's come on. Let's call a spade a spade.
Well, let's the reality is that it never, ever since the Pandora's box opened up around 2008, 2009, it never slowed down. You know, Forbes did a report last year. Forbes did a report this year on last year. 350. I just pulled it up. 350 transgenders were murdered. And that's 14% up because the year before it was 330 or something like that. So it's 350 transgender murder. But here's the thing. See, when I watch that stuff in CNN and those kids sitting there saying, I'm worried about a 10-year-old I'm worried about somebody killing me, just walking down the street and just killing me because that one, as a result of Trump being president, is crazy to me because when you look at the numbers of the 350 people that were murdered last year that were transgender, 93% of them were black or brown. 99 out of 10 of the ones that were killed were black or brown. And get this, the majority of all of them were sex workers, which would tell you that somebody was brought into a bedroom, lied upon, and then some guy snapped because he found out that he was, you know, with a transgender and he thought it was a woman. So it's just, you know, but they play it like they play the soft music and they got the mom sitting behind the kids and they lower the lights and they put it on TV and let it, you know, Trump is president now. So now I'm worried about somebody killed. That nobody cares. And the numbers bear that out. But because people are so motivated by emotion and they don't pay attention to any, and that's another thing that we have a problem with in California. See, we got a lot of good people here, but we got a lot of stupid people too. You know, and people that just airheads and they don't care. Like the way that Kenny studies on a lot of the topics that he talks about. If we have more people that deep dove into the issues the way that Kenny does, I just got to give Kenny his credit. That we wouldn't have this issue here in California, but we don't. But only thing most people care about is the headlines. Nobody reads the article. And that's how it is in my neighborhood. That's how it is downtown at my office. That's how it is when people vote. That's how it is when people, you know, get into these into politics. So they're going to put it on TV and they're going to put the kid down there and tell you that if Trump becomes president, I'm worried about, you know, have a 10-year-old telling the world on CNN, I'm worried about somebody killing me. But then you look at the numbers, a quick Google search will tell you, no, that you're going to be all right. You'll be fine. Just be a good citizen, pay your taxes, love who you love, and mind your business. You'll be fine. But that's not the narrative they want to put out there, man. And that's why I can't stand the media. And I'm with Adam when he says, I don't trust them on the left or the right because they all crooks. So, sheesh.
I wonder what medicine they had to take. Like what? Because they almost made it seem like because she was transitioned or surgically, now she was on like a permanent medication. So like, am I thinking too far into it or?
Well, no, they definitely doing hormone therapy, which is without a doubt probably the most dangerous thing that you can do to your body, especially
it's suppressive. It's suppressing. It's suppressing the hormone.
And the puberty blockers that they doing at what is that 12? That's
shit, I
insane.
almost want to say before it's younger than that. They have some of them that's going younger than that. I can't remember. I think Adam pointed it out, but once you do that, you're literally on that for the rest of your life because your hormones are all thrown off. And it's devastating. Like I primarily learned about it when I got into the fitness world, but just understanding the suppressing testosterone and your estrogen levels going up in adults, how devastating it is. So to a child, man, what? And that's why we have all these kids now unalive. They deleting themselves because not only are they on this hormone therapy, but they also are being programmed by their mother, by the news, by the bullshit that they listening to. So it's a devastating cycle to where you're literally creating children that can't function.
They create children that you also. My bad. You got it, bro. My bad.
No, you good. You good.
No, I was just gonna add on to that. They creating children they're creating the mental issues. You know what I'm saying? They're creating these mental patients by literally force feeding a mental issue on them. You know what I'm saying? Like these kids not thinking like that. I thought I was Bruce Lee or Spider-Man until I was 12, 13.
Man, what? Come
you
on,
feel
bro.
me, bro? Like
Law.
so you mean
Law, what you're saying is they're creating a circular issue. So they create the problem and then then sell them the medicine to fix the problem that they created, Law. That's what Adam was saying earlier. It's a lifelong,
that's exactly what it
customer.
is. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
The money
is terrible.
The money is not in the cure, it's in the treatment. So I have to think something up. I got to get you hooked on my blue magic by any means necessary.
And one of the worst things about this is that this is all still very experimental, right? We're just now starting to see some of the long-term negative effects it's having. And how horrible are you that your corporate greed would motivate you to experiment on children? And now you're telling children that they can consent at 12. You can't consent to sex at that age. So why are you consenting to modifying your sex permanently? The logic, where is the logic in that? What are we doing? And for them to have, it sounds insane to me. It's like we really are in a clown world. Like why are we allowing this?
Trev, because they setting it up for something else down the line to give 12-year-olds the ability to say okay to.
Well,
oh hell no.
Yep, that's what I think. They're opening up the door to give 12-year-olds more say so in their life. So now, as they the pedo world, they're trying to open that shit up too.
I was about to say, outlaw. That's the slippery slope that they've been talking about. Bro.
They leading that shit right in.
Are there people? Are there people who are advocating for this right now, like on a major scale? Like,
yes.
As far as,
yes.
There's I forgot what the organization is called.
We need to nip that in the bud. Like
there was a lawyer that or there was a politician, I forgot in what state, but she was saying how giving pedos child sex dolls would be a way to
curve it,
deter them from actually going out and preying on children.
It's like a nicotine patch. Okay.
It's even worse than that.
Yo,
and a nicotine.
I don't know. I feel kind of. I don't know. I feel like that could go either way. To be honest, I think it's absolutely disgusting. Period. But if it were a preventative measure that could keep, if it could stop people from doing that in real life and actually harming human beings, then it is what it is. I don't agree with that thought process at all. But I see the logic of it, right? Because they don't want them to harm actual humans, right? I wouldn't support or advocate for that, but I understand.
No, bro,
the logic of it.
That's actually pouring gasoline on the fire, because at some point that pair
they're gonna want the real thing.
He's going to want the real thing.
And that's why they're.
No, I get it. I think they're going more so on like the True Blood back in the day. Like, if I don't know if y'all used to watch that, how like the True Blood actually stopped all the vampires from really killing people for the most part. There still were your outliers who really had to feel like they had to get it, but they were going to do that anyway. But it curbed society, at least for the vampires. They didn't really hurt anyone because they had that substitution. And I don't really care. I'm going to leave it there because I don't really want to advocate for that sick, twisted stuff anyway. I just was saying that I understand the logic of it. It's all bad. There's no support for a PDF file at all. The hell with all of them. That's the worst type of individual you can be.
Facts. I feel like they're trying to lean into the born this way bullshit.
Yep. It's the
slippery
slope.
Yeah. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all, because when left to our own devices, they don't really do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they've done experiments with young boys, young girls, and they tend to we're wired a certain way just off rip. So I don't really see that being a thing.
So two things. They're trying to get rid of the pedo, and they're trying to add the minor attractive person to the flag. And also, what we're seeing, what's going on with our kids, is it's what Mao did in Red China, the Cultural Revolution, where they separated the children from the parents, and then there are some cases where the children came back and absolutely killed the parents because they were not believing in Mao's China. So we're really seeing this new way, in my opinion, this wave of cultural Marxism. We're seeing kind of being played out by separating the parents and the children. The parents are no longer going to think for the children. The children can think for themselves and make their own decisions. And we don't need the parents anymore. There's a really good book out there that I've been trying to get through. It's a difficult read. It's out by Dr. James Lindsay. It's called The Queering of the American Child. And this stuff is dating back to the 40s, with a book called One Love. And the book is really hard to read, but it tells you exactly step by step on what we are seeing happening here in the United States right now.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
So you was talking about them separating the children from the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you said this was happening in Mao's China, right?
Yeah.
Were the parents still financially and not financially responsible, not only financially, but like fully responsible for the children and their actions?
No, in Mao's China, everybody went to separate camps. So the women went to one camp, the men went to one camp, and then the children went to another camp, kind of like a re-education camp, and separated everybody, and basically re-educated them. And there's stories of the Mao Red Guard, which were the kids, and the kids are what started the revolution in China under Mao, and was killing parents and killing everybody if you weren't believing in what Mao was teaching.
Kind of like Manchurian candidates, they condition their minds. But Adam, are there any people lockstep with you, any groups that are really making a surge toward helping you and other men with this issue that you would like to point out or mention?
Yeah, so I'm part of a group called Dad Army. It started by Seek Smith, Mom Army. There's a survivor-led organization, Mom Army. a lot of the moms that are in this group are survivors of sexual abuse, trafficking, and they do a lot of school board meetings. They talk about their situations, but she ended up starting the Dad Army. So the Dad Army we're about 10 fathers, and we are right now in the middle of building our coalition up to talk in front of school boards. I go all over the United States speaking on my behalf, but under the Dad Army page.
He'll probably come back.
Yeah, it probably went out.
So what I'm gathering from everything that's transpired in this conversation is the only solution is to not go to a state that promotes this.
Well,
because
I don't think you can, bro. Because even in these, like, it's still everywhere. You know what I mean? It's still in these schools where, like, I literally, so right now, right, with my son, he's 5, right? I literally ask him every day, what did you do at school from the very beginning, and strategically question him to tell me the details. You know what I mean? Because I want to know, because it's crazy out here. The things that they teach them, the things that they make them think are okay, that may be completely against what you are teaching. You if you don't know, you don't know. And I mean, that's happening everywhere. Like he said, I didn't know it, but Adam was saying that this has been going on since over in Germany, and you know what I mean? I'm like, it's a Western civilization issue or what? I don't know what it is, but I mean, that's the same way Rome fell, ain't it?
You know,
hold on.
Darwin,
So you saying this happening in your state too, on a scale
Darwin,
of California?
Darwin, it's not. It's don't look at it as avoid the state, because I can tell you this right now. You and your wife, it wouldn't matter what state you guys live in, because you and your wife is locked in. So it wouldn't matter if you were in California, if you were in Texas, you was in Florida or New York. If you pick the solid woman that is on your program and has the ideals that you share, it doesn't matter where y'all live, because you and your family is locked in. They're not gonna come knocking on your doors, taking your kids, taking all your shit if you and your woman is a solid front. What's happening is men are making families with women that we shouldn't have made families with. And so the answer isn't worry about California or don't move to California. That's not the answer. The answer is, who are we fucking, and who are we giving, and who are we having children with? Who is the woman that we're having sex with? Is she solid? You know, I don't think, it's just my opinion. I don't think it matters where Hink and his woman lives. He could come to California, because if Hink and his woman is solid, Hink and his woman's gonna be like, fuck y'all, together, standing at the front door, right, with her right beside Hink, saying fuck all y'all. So it doesn't matter where he lives.
Well,
so
I
gotta disagree.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this too. I mean, it's about everything in life is about like minimizing risk, right? So I do agree that if you do have a solid woman and a solid father, you're still putting your child out there at risk. You know, one of the things that I discovered with my best friend, like, he's Christian and his daughter goes to a hybrid Christian school. So his daughter only goes to school twice a week, which allows them to have her at home and homeschool her 3 times a week. Some people may say just homeschool them, right? But if we got to start thinking about our children, because if we not in that position right now, it's probably too late. Our kids are probably grown, and it is what it is. But we have to start thinking about generational wealth. We have to start changing our mindsets of our children so that they are in position to be able to have control over their kids. You know, if we leave them with something, they got a better chance of being able to control what it is that they allow to happen, not allow to happen. But unfortunately, when you have these 50-50 houses, everybody's at work. And guess what? The school becomes a daycare. And then you got before care, and then you got after care, because everybody has to go in order to provide for that household. So we have to start changing our mindsets and how we look at things. We also have to become a little more educated and do research on the states that we do move in, because it it's not just about the gender, but even the gun laws. It's just so many different laws that our state have, and we don't know until it's too late, or we get put in that position. We're like, well, we didn't know because it didn't really matter to us because it wasn't important. So we just have to be some researchers over every single thing because we don't have any control.
No, but I hear what you're saying. But let me be clear. Ain't nobody doing nothing to me and my children because me and my children's mother is on the same sheet of music. So at any time, me and my children mother can move to any other place that we need to whenever we want to. This is a free country. You're free to roam as you please. So my point is, whenever you hear about this gender affirming and it's typically it's never a mother and a father fighting against the school. It's always, it seems to me, a mother siding with the school fighting against the father. It's the mom and the dad beefing, and then the gender, like my man Adam said, the gender affirming parent is the one that the states that the court is going to always side with. But if the mother and father is on the same side, is on the same sheet of music, then you don't even hear that in the news. So
let me
back to my point is, as long as you with the right, if you with somebody that's on the same sheet of music as you, especially when it comes to raising children, and we're not out here just fucking whoever and having kids and then praying that we're gonna be on the same sheet of music after the kid comes, then I think it mitigates a whole lot of our problems. It doesn't matter what state you in.
I'll go after you, Chicago.
So look, right? I want to address that because I know a lot of y'all know I have 4 children, ranging ages from 22 and then my youngest is 5 years old, right? Me and my wife are on the same page, lock and step in every facet of it. However, you got to remember these schools are really preaching feminism to the 10th power. They're usually going to have a female teacher 95% of the time. And who has hijacked the feminist movement? You know, the LGBT. So now everything is just okay. You know, so it's things that they're in these classrooms with individuals that are putting their spin on everything. So like the pronouns and like they are like my cousin is he's a vice principal right now. He has almost gotten in trouble by not using pronouns, and he doesn't have a way around it. He has to use the correct pronouns. He can't say boys here, girls there. It's the way they are really pushing it, regardless of what you're talking about in your household. Like sometimes I look now, sometimes in conversations, I'm a bigot. You feel me? In my kids' eyes, I'm a bigot. You feel me? But I don't care. I'm gonna preach it and so on because they're hearing something different when they go to school. And then their teacher is married to so and so, and their teacher has a son that used to be a girl, and so on and so forth. So it's just like it's running rampant everywhere, and you have to do the best that you can. But it don't, like you said, it don't matter what state. We can be locked in, preaching it out our household, but you're still fighting an uphill battle against what they're learning at schools. You know what I mean? Like it's rough, bro. I'm telling you, it's rough. And that's why I'm so hard on like I'll give you guys a quick prime example. They had to do history projects, right? One time. History projects, the best one gets to go to state and go to city and all this, that, and the other. All the topics were based on LGBT shit. You don't know that until your daughter is coming telling you, oh, mine got chosen to go to state. You're like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, these are the options that you're given. It's crazy. You know, it's crazy. And you don't know it until half the 16-page paper is done. You're like, wait, what you mean? Wait, what is this about? You know
yeah, but see, if I had to give you some pushback, I'd have to ask you, why don't you know it?
Because they're
as a parent, why don't you know it?
Because you have a straight A student that just knocks her work out, right? She's knocking her work out. She's in 7th grade. You're like, damn, you don't even know all the work that they have to do because they don't have to ask you for help. They're knocking it down. You know what I'm saying? They in all these special programs. Like it's one, I'm telling you, And I'm saying like dead from experience is nuts because you look up and you're like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not running up behind you, making sure you did your work and what is it? Because shit, you hadn't had straight A's for the past 7 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's rough.
Until they sending them on a gay field trip.
Exactly. And now you like, hold on, what the fuck? Yeah.
So the reason why I asked about a solution, obviously you want to get to a solution after all of this stuff. And I think protecting the child is the solution, but how do you do it, so to speak? And I understand that this thing about if you got a solid woman or who you make a family with, just based off of what I've been seeing in my life with women,
they'll flip
I just don't know. And I get it. You married to the woman, yeah, you can ensure that she stays solid. She's under your cover, and you can ensure that she is aligned with what you believe in. But we do know relationships fail. We do know.
I'm about to say, no, we can't.
The woman ends up with custody, and then now, I don't think relying on a woman in today's society to remain solid is an actual solution to the problem. Because if you look at the laws or before the laws, like what was a solid woman? Because before women can do this, or before women could push this on the kids or do what they want, or just go off of their feelings, they wasn't, or before the laws, they wasn't able to do this until we made it capable of doing it. So one could argue that they were never solid; they was just restricted.
No, that's true. So we gave them freedom. The freedom was given, and it was ran by what a gynocratic system of government. You know, where it's a benefit for women enforced by men. But at the same time, a lot of men ignored signs that we shouldn't have, and that's why we have King Talk. I mean, that's the nature of this show that we're going over 3 years now. We're going into our 4th year. Because we want to make sure that men are equipped with the information that they need to know. They need to hear Hink talk. They need to hear you, Darwin, talk. They need to listen to Sweeney, because when I got married back in 2000, the first time back in 2003, I didn't know. It was cheaper to, it was happy wife, happy life. It was, baby, 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 please. It was all of that stuff. And I was told that was the way it was supposed to go. I just didn't know. So no, women will flip on you. Let me argue with myself real quick. Women will flip. You'll think you got a solid one until you get into the relationship, and all of a sudden you're like, who the fuck are you? What did you do with my wife? Because I didn't marry you. Where's the woman I married? That will happen. At the same time, I have to do some introspection and say, damn, did I see that coming though? Did I think that I was going to be able to change? Did I think that little cute thing that she was doing was going to kind of wear off? But now that shit is exacerbated and is snowball effect into something big that I can't stand every night. Are we ignoring the red flags? And that's why I say not only the solid part, but are we as men making sure that we're making the best choices in the women that we are? And I think, and I don't know, because this is where we are at this stage now, right? I think if we make sure that we pick solid women and pay attention to those red flags, we'll do better. We'll fare better in the long run in this modern society.
So I'm with you on the signs and the red. I think the signs and the red flags just helps you mitigate the risk, or you coming into the picture with lesser risk.
But it doesn't
based on history, based on everything that we've learned. I think it's whenever you leave it up to a woman, and I hate to say this because I have a wife, I think it's inevitable. It's inevitable that she's gonna bend to her feelings and she's gonna conform. I would even argue that Adam didn't even see the signs. There was no red flags. There was no signs when Eve was going to do that, and she was undercovering. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to elevate a solid woman over any other woman in the past. I think
not
just
you,
once
Adam.
you
We're
start,
talking about biblical Adam, by the way.
yeah, biblical Adam, not you, Adam. We're talking about Adam from the garden.
Wait, what?
Like he didn't see it. I don't think no man. I don't think this is something that you can get in front of. I think the protection is contingent upon your ability to maintain a relationship with this woman, because the woman has so much power, so much control over marriage, the outcome of marriage. the family court systems, control over sex, period, that our only protection for our children is contingent upon how the connection is between us and this woman.
Yeah, that speaks to JR's point. Just mitigate your risks. Stay away from California. Then you ain't got to. That's one less thing to worry about and shit.
For now.
Let me say this real fast about I think what Law was talking about, as far as look, as men, well, as parents, you need to get involved as much as you can, because a lot of these things they can't present to your kids as long as you are involved. So that means you need to be at the board meetings. That means you need to be at the teachers meeting. Join the PTSA, because they have to present that to you at the beginning of the school year. Every year, you have to sign forms saying you want to eliminate your kids from being involved in these situations. Now, if you just let that shit slide and don't pay attention, it's going to happen. They're going to sneak it in there like they're supposed to do. They're going to sneak it in there.
We sitting here with a man on the panel who was involved, and it's still
we have
happening.
to be involved in the situation.
Adam was involved.
Darwin, just pause, brother.
I think we backtracking.
No,
Darwin, he's not speaking. He's speaking to what Law was saying.
I'm not talking about what you talking about, dog. So
he's talking about what Law was saying earlier. We were talking about how all children go on a field trip, and it'd be next thing you know, it's a whole gay agenda.
Okay,
going
I
on
thought we was trying to figure out a solution.
Not only that, the teacher was telling them how they're married to a woman and yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? And this is like telling them all your personal.
Hey, y'all, we winding down, y'all. The countdown time is now.
I got you. That's going to happen. There's nothing you can do. Look, a lot of things we need to do. You need to evaluate your kids' friends, their friend circle. You need to evaluate them. You need to know who they hanging out with, who they're dealing with. You need to know their parents. It's sad that we have to go that far, but you have to. Knowing who your kids are hanging around, either in school or out of school, even your fellow family members. If you know they got the same agenda as what my man Adam dealing with, you need to steer clear from them. Keep your kids away from them. Continue to press on whatever your beliefs is, whatever your religion is, whatever your thought process. Continue to press it, and don't be afraid to challenge whatever agenda is being pushed in the way that you don't want. I'm laying it there.
Yeah, real quick, Law, and I think I'm with Hink on that one. That's why I was giving you a little bit of pushback on you should know. See, listen, I know you can drive, Law. You don't have insurance because you can't drive. You have insurance because you might get hit by somebody else that can't. So as smart as your daughter is with the straight A's, and you know they're responsible and doing all that kind of stuff, your helicopter parentness is because you worried about who's in the incoming missiles to those great students, not about your kid out there doing shit they ain't got no business doing. Go ahead, JR.
All right. Adam, you there? He might be on the phone call. Let me get to these super chats really quickly. And hopefully Adam will be back. AP Accountability Partner Twin Out says, my brothers, I know oftentimes we say this ain't my problem. This on them. This is not a fight where we can sit idly by and wait for someone else to do it. We've been on the sidelines for far too long. We must fight too. AP again, $10 says, Adam, we have all failed your son collectively. We have all failed him. I'm sorry. It's time for us men to act and remove this plague from society. This is absolutely warrant. AP again, $5 says, yeah, thank you for having the courage. Always be willing to have these very difficult conversations. Thank you, AP. Appreciate you, sir. I was going to have Adam take us home. I guess he dropped out. Anyhow, I'll put his social media. I'll drop it. Anybody got the link? You drop the link, Darwin? The social media.
Yeah, I got it.
Back. So you guys can go ahead and support or reach out to him if you guys have any connections, or maybe you just want to support him in some type of way. You can reach out to him. Oh, there he is right here. What's going on, Adam? We are about to ready to close the show out. We want to let everybody know that they can support you if need be.
Yeah, sorry about my internet connection is really bad. I just want to first say thank you to you guys. It was really nice having a group of guys to talk to. Kind of we're all on the same page about lifting up the fathers, lifting up men, trying to protect our children, and it's real comforting to know that there's a lot more of us out there. The one thing that I wanted to really talk about is for anybody who's in California, I'm in a part of an initiative to get school choice here in California. We need 1.5 million signatures by 2026, but this would allow parents to remove their kids from private schools and have money for public schools and get them into private homeschooling, that kind of stuff. And it's called the CAO Act, and I really believe that it's going to help protect a lot of kids. And I post about it all the time on my internet, but I'm really grateful for guys like you. Any way you guys can support me is just follow me on Instagram and just like and share all that funny stuff that normal people say is like, share, comment, subscribe. That's about it. But again, I appreciate you guys 100%.
All right, Adam. On behalf of the Lapeef Network, we want to thank you for stopping in on King Talk. If you want to come back in, just let us know. We'll be more than willing to have you. And thank you for sharing your story. I did drop the link in the chat for people to follow Adam and to support in any kind of way. And then it's also in the description if you are catching this on a replay. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for taking your time as well, for giving you guys perspective and just being patient as Adam shared his story. And we out, man. Y'all enjoy y'all evening. Thank you guys again. Catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.